The hypothesis there that I thought when I skimmed it, one of his recent episodes, is the gulf between people that are really using AI, like AI pilled, really using it every day, and pretty much everyone else is just the gulf is just widening, which is a little terrifying because these tools can make you so powerful and with the right agency and knowledge. But yeah, so we jumped right into that. But how was your week, man? Anything fun? Eat anything tasty? Do you hate your life? What's, any good jokes you want to tell?
No, I mean, yeah. I mean, this week, I think like others have been fast paced, and I was sharing with you, it's, you know, I guess you use that like, I hate it, the lame analogy, like when someone new starts and they're like, oh, I've been drinking through a fire hose, like that
Yes.
analogy, like when you first start like a new role. But that's how my week has felt, especially with like trying to keep up with everything. Like it's not work related in the sense of like AI that I want to like upskill on. It's like, you're just like you have work and then you have this other fire hose that you're trying to ingest and just keeping pace and the water's not going in.
Into your mouth, into your mouth. I love it. You just can't handle too much information.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
it's,
But it is real. It's so we talked, and then last week, and then I went down and I did the thing with some of my friends, and so yeah, it's been a really crazy kind of week. And I got my Mac Mini, so that was big. Middle week, the kids are super excited, so I booted up Google Stitch. That's just a web page, but so it does front end designs, and so I've been kind of trying to take a page out of your book with your kid, your son, and talking to my daughter, "What do you want to build?" And so, well, let's see. Have you seen Google Stitch?
yeah,
Okay, cool. So,
yeah.
all right. Well, so basically, you go
If
there.
you want to
I guess I might as well pull it up for a little bit, but
share your screen,
yeah, let me pull it up first. So basically, why don't you tell them what it is, and I'll pull this up.
I mean, essentially build like, you know, I guess like the Lovable would be the most analogous to some of the listeners.
Yeah, or yeah, maybe a Figma, but yeah, probably Lovable, right, or Vercel. But so it's a Google Labs project. You can put in a prompt. It's an app or a website. I just kind of was playing some stuff. So one of the kind of the litmus tests that I do is a Tabata app, and so some of there's the whole whatever the image of the duck riding a bicycle that turned into kind of an interesting test. And so for me, it's a bot app, but it generated all the color scheme from a prompt, and then you've got all these different views of it. You can do a prototype. What's really cool is actually, I guess I can't export this one, or maybe it's too old now. Oh, I guess it would help if I highlighted all the screens. But you can export this to Google's AI Studio and then run that and then share that. So that's pretty sweet. So yeah, it's kind of a prototyping esque platform, and so my daughter started playing with this last night, and she was loving it and just trying to get them into it. And it, I did one. It's from my research in Claude. It's not a great portability. Like you can't really export it, and it's turned into something easy. Kind of breaks, I guess, versus the Figma, which you can use code to canvas, which is really good. But for ideation, just I'm not a designer, so coming up with an application idea for an iPhone or a web app, and then it gave me all these different screens. Oh, this button was here. Oh, I didn't like this. Oh, but this was cool. This profile, I hadn't thought about putting that in my application or my mobile app. So from that point of view, I thought it was really good. And then you just interact with it via natural language. So I think again, it's kind of like sitting at the desk and trying to start writing when you come up with a creative image, especially if you're not a designer. That was really clutch. And then you kind of jump off from there, take screenshots, feed it back into Claude code.
yeah. And I think this is actually very timely. And I don't know if I shared this one with you earlier. So Claude actually just announced this morning they're designed by Anthropic. So
Fucking shipping
big,
a product every day, dude.
yeah. So
Can you imagine being a seller and then your customer says, "Hey, what is this?" And you're like, "I don't know. I didn't know about this." Like, it's
like legit, right? Like
what's it the
you're talking
cost?
to
Tokens,
you're,
tokens, more
you're talking
tokens.
to major, yeah. I mean, I'm like, oh, how can I get access to that? And you're like, the seller, and you're like, access to what? Like, but,
I want to
but
know if they're
like
paid
the
on commission. OpenAI is not, right? That's what you said. I think it's just an equity.
no, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, sorry. So what is? So they launched the Figma competitor, Claude Code.
Yeah, and then if you saw like the Anthropic CPO, or excuse me, so the Anthropic CPO left Figma's board yesterday. So there's a CPO, and I'll probably slaughter his name, Mike Krieger at Anthropic, who sat on the board of Figma. And yesterday he stepped down from the board, like submitted his like, hey, resignation. And then today they released this.
What is it called?
Here, let me send the link to it's. I think it's called Claude Design.
What is
Let me
that?
send you the link here.
Yeah,
But yeah, this like
kind of
real
a
time
dick
people.
move.
This
It reminds me of when Eric Schmidt sat on the board of Apple, and then oh, by the way, we're releasing Android now. I I get the design cycles take a little bit longer, 20 years ago, but the CPO had to know this was coming.
it's right timely. It's like they introduced it today, and he served his notice like Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, so that's a kind of a conflict of interest, but nobody. All right.
But again, like ties in with your stitch. So all of this is like very timely. This is what I'm talking about. The fire hose. It's like this just came out this morning. I haven't even touched it, right? Like you've been playing around with Stitch. Like now you can go pull this up today with your daughter and be like, oh, I've got another tool.
Yeah, this is gonna be real interesting because that was intense. So one of the videos I was watching, so trying to help out, for a buddy doing some ads and landing pages and design, and I'm not a designer, but I found this new. So I was watching a video on how to quickly iterate through A/B testing and landing pages and doing beautiful designs. I've been working on just updating a bunch of websites, and I think I talked about last time where I finally got it. Or maybe no, I didn't talk about it. Did I talk about the WordPress thing about pulling it down to my local machine?
Yeah, you did actually touch
Okay.
on it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So that's been working really well. And so I saw in this video, so that they're using paper design. So paper design is a lot like Figma, but really good at HTML and CSS styling. So Figma can go between a lot of different pixel perfect outputs, and it can kind of do whatever you want. So it's very powerful, but then the learning curve obviously is a little bit higher. This one just nails apparently the UI side. And then they were using this in conjunction with something called, I guess, shadcn, which is, I guess, kind of like a TypeScript. So all these buttons here are just open source and pre-built, right? And they look really clean. You got different versions of them, radar charts, and it pulls all this stuff up. And then he ended up spending money on what's Tailark. So Tailark is, I guess, they took a level up. They took the open source shadcn and then they built things on top of it. So but you have to pay for this. So, dude, I just told Claude to look at shadcn and just build the website that looks like this on WordPress, and it just went and sucked it all up, and then it spit it out. And so I'm kind of curious how that Claude tool is going to be different, if at all. But more importantly, I was playing with iPhone development, a UI, and I was trying to do with Figma. So I have it built out, and I wanted to import it into Figma with Claude Canvas. And I guess there's an Apple restriction where it just doesn't allow that. So next is going to be Xcode, because Xcode now supports AI agents, plugins, and agent interaction. So Claude Code can actually run the simulator, I think. But the UI works in Xcode, so I'm going to try that next. But this is really interesting. I'm curious what the design for Claude is going to enable, if it's just websites, if it's mobile applications, which framework it supports. But I did not even know about that. But I've been on this journey.
I mean, and totally tangent, and maybe this is why I haven't run off and started a startup. But when you share like paper, I go and the first thing I do is I just look at pricing, because I'm like, who pays for this? And like, what is your TAM and your SAM? But I'm just and we can riff here for a second, but then like now you have these tools like, whatever it is, Stitch, and now you have Claude doing this. It's like, I don't know the what is the what is their like goal in the sense of like how do they think they're gonna like hit velocity?
No, man, it is very interesting, especially with how fast Claude is releasing things now. It's really hard to say, but maybe they're profitable from day one, so every customer is just a bottom bottom dollar, right? So just kind of rolls onto the profit table. But I think it's a pretty small firm because they only have a couple. Paper.design only has a couple of YouTube videos, and it's just a co-founder or founder. So it might be a person of one company, and it's $10 a month to start, and it works. It might take them a couple
Yeah,
months.
yeah. I mean, if that's the case, definitely. And I guess maybe this is like some bias coming from like this recent like post. Somebody had posted about like how they've set up like an agency, you know, helping people leverage Claude, and they're at a 7 million ARR. They have 400 customers, but they have 30 employees. And so when I'm doing the math in my head, like, okay, so each customer is paying you like roughly $1,500 a month, which is a good, that's like a good like price point. But you have 30 employees, so the average, you know, cost per employee of revenue is roughly 200,000. So like that to me seems like not going to make it.
Yeah, maybe 200,000 is high. I'm not really sure. That's an interesting model. I think it speaks to the long tail that's out there, and just the echo chamber that we live in is AI build and B2B and best practices and sales ops or revenue ops. I just don't think most people live in that world, man. I just think and now things are moving so quickly. You almost have to be running really fast already. That's what's so crazy. It's more intense, and they had the whole token anxiety kind of comment on Twitter. It's like, oh, like, why would I be at this party? I need to go watch my agents. And dude, there's nothing more annoying than constantly pressing allow just to try to get it. So I do want to think, but then it seems reckless to just do like YOLO mode, dangerously allow permissions or whatever edits. So
Yeah.
it's a weird tension, man. But the if you launch a product that can do something, it's pretty powerful. If you can simplify it for people, that's another big one because I do feel like the command line and code is somewhat of a learning curve. But at the end of the day, the output is what matters. I feel like we have a lot of noise in the system of people waving their hands. We're doing cool stuff, but it's really hard to ascertain, is it worth, to your point, is that worth $10 a month, $50 a month? What am I going to get out of this versus just something cool that's a subscription that I couldn't do before, but now I can, but it doesn't actually drive any economic value for my life? Those are the big questions that I feel like are really hard to understand and answer right now.
Well, I mean, even from the founder standpoint, not like the end user, but even like the founder, it's like it's taking you like 30 people to generate 7 million in revenue. I mean, it just like you're depending on your payroll, you know, like and sure, like in your days of like Greenfield, you would look at like, you know, a Target and you'd be like, okay, they have, you know, 150 employees, like the average cost for our infrastructure portfolio is like, you know, 11K per, you know, head count, like that kind of stuff is what I'm thinking. I'm like, you know, 200K, you know, per employee, once you take like, you know, salary, just all that operational, you're not making any money.
Yeah, that's a very people heavy business. I'm a little surprised that they can't scale more effectively. They have a lot of hand holding. So
Yeah.
I'm
But anyways, that was just like an analogy and like, yeah.
no, but I think it's a good one because I'm gonna start dabbling with, I think, so I need to finish one project. I'm all over the board on a bunch of different small projects. Need to focus on one and knock them out. But I wanted to try some of these new prospecting tools that are kind of free for 1 seat, 2 seats, or include 1,000 credits per month, like a Clarify.ai and Atio.ai, things like that. Kind of see what's there. Because I think I mentioned this. The 11 Labs CRO said, just throwing agents and prospecting and reaching out to people who don't want to be talked to, and then but now you have 100x or 1,000x more agents focus on the same buyers. That's not a recipe for success. But at the same time, there's that knowledge arbitrage. And so I just go back to my buddy who's essentially kind of building out an ad platform to generate leads for his business. And it's all AI generated user video content style. But it's not, and there's platforms out there that you can go today and just, create this. But I think it's all the different knobs. And then he does a lot on feeding in competitive analysis of other ads of other companies, and then being able to change the avatar, different, socioeconomic status or different types of ICPs or different dial in. And then you can keep running these ads in the loop, right? You can really close the loop versus here are, $50 and you get 10 pieces of content, throw it at the ads. They work or they don't. I think the whole value around kind of full circle, but it also makes me wonder is, how sustainable is that moat? Because what if you could just build that whole application in a weekend instead of 3 months with, Opus 5.1 or whatever it is, next year? It's really hard to wrap your
Yeah.
brain around.
Yeah. And as you like talk through that, like in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, I don't know anything about like, you know, I like ICP, narrative creation, all the things that marketers talk about and everything that he's, you know, building out or working on. But at the same time, there's been things that I didn't know about, and I've just, natural language to Claude. And to your point, like, and Claude has like done it. So in 6 months from now, if I'm like, hey, pull me the market analysis on my competitor, tell me what's working for them, help me craft that narrative for my customer, or to like help drive customers based on these ad platforms I want to run, whatever, like
Yeah.
just fumbling through it with natural language to your point, and it's just going to do it for me.
Yeah. I've been playing around more with the code commits and different things. So there's still a lot of friction. So, but there's been some interesting articles on the whole idea of back in the day when 100% of the code was written by humans, code reviews were still hard to do. They're still hard to staff and finish. And now that we're generating so much code at the velocity that we are, it's literally impossible to inspect all the different code. So we're gonna have to develop this new kind of operating model and at an abstraction layer. And so it's gonna be interesting how it evolves here with the agents looking at the agents and having distinct roles and a whole new paradigm of essentially like code. We've already got the code generation, but the code review. And then I think you're going to see a lot tighter security permissions. This agent only has access to this file, and we're really loose on the consumer side. But in work settings, you really have to dial that in. So I think governance is going to be really important because there was something like 80% of companies are planning to roll out, CEOs are planning to roll out AI or agentic AI, but only 20 something percent of those felt good about securing it. And it's just this craziness where like the risk profile of not adopting AI is so much greater, or perceived risk is so much greater than the actual fucking threat surface being increased from all the agents. Just like if you stop and think about that for a minute, that's insane. It's like if you had a lawyer, like, so we know this threat surface is going to increase by 10x. We know we don't have a great answer for that, but that risk is lower than not using AI across our business
Yeah.
because our
Which,
employees won't be as productive, because our products won't be, needed in the market, because we'll be leapfrogged by, somebody who started a business yesterday. It is just insane, the FOMO that exists out there.
yeah. And it's real. It's moving so fast too. It's
Yeah.
scary.
Well, it's been interesting. The SaaS apocalypse is over is one of the headlines we got here, but I mean, the markets, I think, have definitely rebounded in the market cap, but it's going to be interesting in the next 18 months, how things play out, because there's no question that I think the per seat pricing, right, that's going to see pressure. Negotiations are going to go up. But at the same time, I think there was a tweet or interview with the Uber CTO. He blew through their entire like engineering budget by April. So I'm seeing similar signs or like signals, I should say. It is, I'm just wondering, what are CFOs doing? Like, how are we rationalizing this? It's like everyone is just speeding up, but where is the incremental revenue coming from? It's
Yeah. No, I thought the same thing too. I'm like, especially with like an Uber, like if the market, so in general, like, Wall Street is not Main Street. And I, you know, a lot of people I talk to on Main Street are hurting right now. And it's not like, things going that great. So, things you cut back on, like ordering Uber Eats, I'll just drive and get it myself, or doing my Uber, whatever, do you, the old analogy way back in the day, probably date me, is like people used to say like the economic indicators to watch were dry cleaners, because people would cut back on taking their suits and stuff to dry cleaners, right? And so, but your point, like they blew through their engineering budget. Where is this like incremental increase in revenue? Like if general overall revenues decline because of the market, then what's Uber look like, in Q4?
just what are they? Yeah, it's a good question. And where are they getting the incremental revenue? What features are they rolling out to go address more TAM? And I think just an interesting counterpoint to this is just more money is going into VC firms, like VC companies. So granted, so Q1 was up to 300 billion, but I think this was Anthropic and Waymo and OpenAI. But if you back those out, it was still 112 billion is what A16Z says. And, so that's why this late stage is so heavy. It's just crazy how much money is available to go into these companies. And then this is AI companies raised. Obviously, this is a big part of this was the ones I just mentioned, but it's yeah, dude. I see so on the AI pill side of things, I'm definitely using these heavily. And I think it's only going to get better, but I think it's going to come in where I heard a great analogy where it's like different types of tokens. So, right now we're paying the same token price, and the only thing that changes is the model. So each model has a different token price. But if you can imagine a world where you go to ChatGPT and let's say you're working at Big Pharma and you want to index your internal documentation, right? You want to ask a question about internal policy, that's, 25 cents per 1 million token. But if you ask it a question around genome sequencing, that's, $10 per million tokens or something like that. Or if you're doing image processing for CAD, that's $5 per million tokens. So you think you're going to have a breakout of, as they get better in different industries, like pricing per token is going to change, and it's going to be, I think, less about the model and more about the applications. And you kind of see that with, ServiceNow or Figma, where they're going to have their design credits or their ticket troubleshooting credits. Right now, everything's kind of a general bucket. We use Descript, and so you get your 3,000 credits per month or whatever it is, and then you can use those. It's a general fund, right? You can use it on audio editing of curse word or the transcription or regeneration of an AI speaker. So it's not hard for me to imagine a world where things are much tighter, but it's just there's so much changing all at once. It's hard to know how long it's going to take and where is it going to land. And that's for me, that makes it hard to, where am I going to place my bets
Yeah.
other than
Yeah.
Nvidia and the hyperscalers? Because there's gonna be more tokens, but you don't know which token player is gonna win.
Yeah. And I guess even like when you think through it, it's like where, career bets too for people, like where do you, place your career bet, right? Like, do you go, to a startup, or do you go to an existing big tech, right? Like, where's your greatest payoff? And I bring up that because in the past you would see, and maybe not so much now, but maybe true, but people, there was like a few studies done. I think people were like, oh, if you would have gone to, XYZ startup versus going to, Facebook as an L5, and stayed at Facebook for 5 years, you would have made more money based on RSUs total comp than going to like your average startup.
Yeah.
Now, there's going to be the home run startups that we all know of. And if you're lucky, you're lucky. But it's like, I think for most people, their best bet is like going big tech. But then even going big tech, like now, who do you go to? Because I go to Oracle and then like miss the bus.
Yeah, that's hard. Oracle's so different. I mean, they've got their remaining, yeah, they're
It's
generating
just
a lot of
Apple.
cash flow. They've got their OpenAI remaining performance obligation and a lot of other GPU customers. They're not going out of business anytime soon, but it is hard to understand or think about the upside. You can make a lot of money in sales probably, but I don't know about RSUs. What's so let's talk about some of these headlines from this week. So you already covered the Claude design one. Let's see what we got here. So OpenAI goes full cyber, GPT 4.5 cyber. So they launched 4.5.4, which I think everyone expected right after the Opus 3.7. But they also did the 5.4 cyber. So to Defender. So I thought that was kind of interesting, fast follow. That's the one thing that is crazy is how everything kind of moves together, all the three labs. Anthropic's Glasswing on the same thing. Gemini, I found this interesting. Gemini hits 750 million users. That's crazy. Gemini 3.1 Pro launches globally, and they're just cranking all these different labs, different products. I just got access to Flow, which is kind of like, I don't know, Sora-esque or something. So I'm going to play with that video one. And then Gemini also launched the Gemini app for Mac. So I downloaded that, but I haven't played with it yet. So it's
I think the sleeper is Google and Gemini, and this is just anecdotally. Like I use Claude, like I preference like Claude, but randomly enough, like you know, my my son, is like, oh, we need to use Gemini for this. Like he's calling out what we need to use when we're like, when I'm talking about stuff. I'm like, oh, we should look this up. He's like, yeah, we'll look it up on Gemini, or like, let me
wow.
design my images in Gemini.
And Nano Banana is amazing, but so here I was at school yesterday volunteering. All of it's Google, and it's all Chromebooks and touchscreen. And so they're using. My daughter was using Adobe Express, I think, which is free, but she was all about the search and the Google Drive. And let me create this. I didn't realize how deep they were in the Google ecosystem, the Google Workspace. And then she just naturally took to Google Stitch last night, and then my son was playing with it too. And he's only 7; he just turned 7. They're just so digitally native. It's so crazy to think about. And I'll give a shout out for Anti-Gravity. Anti-Gravity is a beast. So that's an IDE built on Visual Studio, I'm pretty sure. But what I didn't know, and we talked about this last week, Claude models or Anthropic models are on all the major hyperscalers. So Google actually bundles in their AI credits, it's Gemini or Claude. So you can use Opus 4.6, 4.7. I haven't checked it today, but 4.6 for sure, and Gemini and Nano if you have a Gemini subscription and you use it in the IDE, and they have a really cool, slick agent manager. So it's kind of like if you've ever looked in Claude Workspace or like the newly designed app this week, I think it came out. You can now go to your code tab and then look at the different sessions, and they're organized by project folder. So if you're running a lot of different projects, you can see the sessions that are related to that. So Google has something very similar to that in Anti-Gravity. And because of the Google Chrome integration, it's really, really good for troubleshooting like all the different logs that are going back and like calling out to different API services and errors that you wouldn't be able to see otherwise. So it's pretty slick. So I'm paying through the nose for all these subscriptions. Building apps nobody wants to buy. It's fucking
Yeah, creating ideas that that are yet to be acted on.
yeah. But I don't know, man. It's fun, but I am trying to build towards something, just something that's usable that people can interact with. And it's kind of crazy because I'm also learning a lot, and just you're upskilling all the areas that I'm not familiar with. So, I'm in sales, but now at least I think I sent you the new Fringe Lines website, right? Dude, that was just me like, hey, shadcn library. I want a dark theme and a light theme. So that's the light theme. I want it to look a little bit like this. Oh, these pages are legacy. I need you to update this. I like it. It looks real clean to me. So I'm super pumped about that. And it
Yeah.
was took maybe an hour, and mostly just like
Yeah.
walking or back and forth. It would hang for a while, and I'd press like accept, accept, accept. So
Yeah. Well, on the note of like just building things and, you know, maybe not like necessarily shipping them or bringing something to market. I don't know if I shared this one with you. So my son has this new fascination, which I'm really stoked about, of like football, which I never pushed football, which is cool. But then on top of that, football
playing
stats,
or
both,
oh, nice.
and like football stats. So like wants to know certain things about players. And so, and I was like, okay, well, as the football season approaches next year, like a good thing, and people will probably shame me for this, but I was like, teach him fantasy football, because he can take all of his like stat knowledge of like, here's the best players, and I can build these teams and see how like these my performances based on my knowledge of stats were. But I was like, I need to be able to teach him about it. Like for those of us who sort of just were like raised in fantasy football, it's hard to explain it, right? You're just like, oh, I get fantasy football. But if you're going to try to explain it to a layman, like, or somebody who doesn't know, you're like, well, no, you see, you do this and then you do this. So I was trying to find like, fantasy football how-to guides, and there are none. And so then I just asked Claude, I was like, I can't find any. And they're like, yeah, you're right, because it's very sparse. And like DraftKings has an article here about XYZ and so and so. So anyways, I was like, well, generate me an interactive site to teach somebody fantasy football from step one to end. And it put together this beautiful interactive site. And I'm like, I'm just going to go publish this, buy a domain, and just sit it out there, because I was searching forever for like, fantasy football 101,
Yeah.
like how to learn fantasy football. And there was nothing. And I'm like, dude, I'm just going to publish this, and boom.
Hey, man, there's a check out, I think it's framer.com. That was another one. This is what makes my brain hurt. There's so many of these out there. Build better sites faster. And it's like, I get it. It's appealing. You don't want a Wix. You don't want this. You don't want your own WordPress. I paid, I think, $7 a month for the second smallest light sale, but I have to do a bunch of stuff. And it's like, if you could build these sites and see what we got here. It's a good product layout. But yeah, you get some basic stats. You've got your design. It's supposed to be easy. You've got your CMS. You can collaborate, and you can get a domain. So here it is. This is pricing. So yeah, $10 is per annual. $15 a month. Connect your own domain. That's what, $10, $12, depending on what you buy. Built-in SEO. Just you're off to the races.
Yeah. It's just about doing it. Like we've talked about, sort of just like push things out. Like I almost too, we've said this before, but I'll say again, it feels very reminiscent of like the early iPhone App Store days. I didn't participate in that, but I was on the sideline saying, how can wasn't an engineer, but I was like just seeing people push out apps. And I was like, well, I would like to do that too, but didn't have a skill set.
Yep.
But I feel like that period where it's like, you can just go do it now, and you should just do it.
You should. I mean, dude, I know you're gonna get heartburn on the $10, and I get it, because I have so many subscriptions now, and that's why I was gonna get the Tailark, which was the paid version. It's like $300 for a license. I said, well, let me just try it on Claude Code. I'll point it at the open source, and it worked. It was good enough for me. I don't know the difference. But for your website, just do a static website on S3. Get a domain, tell Claude Code, point them out at the library that I showed, and just say, hey, create a 2026 modern design for, fantasy football. Here's a guide. I don't know what you're going to do, if you're going to put it behind a paywall or what, hook it up to Stripe or something. And just like, you're done.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is pretty much done. The way I was thinking of monetizing this, and this probably get shamed for this too, but
As much
all
as
of
typing
the,
in your prompts, apparently. If you type in your prompts, you're fucking caveman. So you got to use transcription. Whisper Flow or some shit. So I still take
Yeah.
prompts.
But the, like all of the, like the DraftKings and all of those, like they have like the referral codes where if you put like a banner or a link on your site. So I'm just going to throw in a resource page because it's already done. It's like a fully interactive, like, makes you go through, like read and like check the steps as you've gone. And then you go to the next. And it's like,
Oh, wow.
so anyways, yeah, it's like to your point, I could just dump it in S3 right now, have my domain point at it and go.
Yeah, dude, I would just say, yeah, I don't know if you're running Invite or React, JavaScript or what works with S3 static these days. But yeah, dude, you should just tell Claude Code, create a version of this that works on Amazon S3 and tell me how to upload it. And dude, it'll be done within an hour.
Yeah.
It'll be live. You just got to hook up your Stripe
Yeah.
account.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right. Well, it was great to catch up. I know we're a little bit all over the place. There's so much that came out this week. I think keep building. I'm excited about trying out some of these go-to-market systems and kind of looking behind, how effective they are at prospecting, hypothetically at least in the next week or so. And I think one of the things that concerns me is the token budgets are going up. They're getting spent so much and they're still employing software engineers. And so if there's not incremental revenue, if it's just a more competitive marketplace, I mean, that just means you're going to have margin erosion or you're going to start laying off people. But then I also wonder at what point do all the labs pull a Coke and Pepsi and just raise their prices? Because they can, it's, I don't know, it seems inevitable that, first you open the system, you get everybody on the platform, then you close the system and then you raise prices and extract rents. And I'm just like, it's like, that's probably not going to happen until layoffs, until they know there's more budget to go after. So that's my pessimistic prediction for 2027.
They lay off, and then the day after layoff, they announce the price increase, and then revenue shoots through the roof.
Yep. Yeah, dude, it's crazy, man. Well, anything you're looking forward to this weekend or coming up?
Yeah, I mean, the weekend I coached basketball, so we have another game, so we're in it. So yeah, that and did they got so much technology nowadays. So again, I've mentioned the football. My son is now playing flag football. They have this tool. I bought it on Amazon, but it's like a pass improvement tool. And it's basically a football attached to a stick, but this cost me $50. But you just like show them proper catching techniques. If you just like sitting like not 7 feet, like 3 feet away from them, poking the ball at them and having them like move in the direction. It has different skills, like a little booklet that comes with it. But that way it's always just like the perfect pass route. Yes, you can pass and I could pass, but this is like teaching them like, okay, here, you're always catching this. We're doing 100 of these.
Yeah, stop doing that with your hand. It's really weird.
But that's the catch in the football, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I get it. Yeah, I've seen those, the football, like a Nerf ball or something. And yeah, so they can practice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool, man.
So,
Good bonding time, man.
yeah.
So, all right. Well,
That's it though.
we'll see everybody next week. Thanks.
So